Hey, howdy and hello folks. Welcome back into T1A. Today we are covering some rookies for you, going through some that you should know, that you don't know, you should know more about, and probably a late round pick.
Yeah, it's about that time, and prior to the combine, let's get a little opinion out there and see what we come up with. Let's roll this shit. I need to bring the stash back.
Never hurts. Sure is pretty. All right, so I'm going to be kicking this thing off here. So I chose a player that everybody already kind of knows, Tyler Warren, tight end out of Penn State. There we go. 6'6", 261. He's going to be 23, a little bit after draft time here. Finished the season with 104 receptions, 1,233 yards, 8 receiving touchdowns. He added 4 more rushing. The guy averaged 12 yards per reception for all of his college career. So like the last 3 years he averaged 13 plus, and then this year he had a little under 12. He was the first tight end since 1977 to get a Heisman vote. So pretty outstanding career year for him. He was the number 2 in receptions. He was tied with another player that I'll read about later here, but he was behind Harold Fannin from Bowling Green, who got 117 receptions. He still finished the year with 8 more receptions than Travis Hunter. When we think about how much he got fed over the year, like Tyler Warren was just given full run of the salad bar and just ate up all year long.
Hell yeah. Going back for pickled beets, baby.
Oh yeah, you gotta have pickled beets on the salad.
I love pickled beets.
So he's rumored to be a top 15 pick right now. He can play tight end. He's split out wide. He's on the line. He actually plays wide out position as well. You can block. He played center. Obviously, he played center for one play. He can throw. He can run. Kind of deemed the new age Taysom Hill. I don't know if anybody wants that, but he did quite well for fantasy, so it's hard to argue with.
Yeah, I just hope it doesn't come in spurts like it did with Taysom. Steady she goes.
The only teams I see that need a tight end right now in the top 15 are New Orleans and Indianapolis, but I think they have bigger needs than to solve their tight end problems right now. I could see him still going in the first, but I'd say probably mid-late 20s, somewhere where like the Bengals, the Broncos, the Chargers, where they're not looking for defensive players or a quarterback to run their offense.
Yeah.
For fantasy drafts, he's kind of mocked at the 106 right now. You and I did some kind of placements of our draft, how we would roll it out. You had him a little higher. I think he falls a little bit farther. But any spot that I can pick him up at past like the 103, I'm fine grabbing him. I don't want to reach. I don't want to compare him to previous years where we have Brock Bowers, Laporta, McBride. But we also think McBride didn't really play much his first year at all. Not really much his second year. Until Ertz went out of there. So I still think he's going to be a phenomenal tight end. But still trying to curb my enthusiasm because he's a tight end that's going to be a rookie.
Yeah, but I think he checks a lot of boxes on what a lot of the tight ends that are excelling right now as rookies are doing. Sam Laporta being the first one that we can think of 2 years ago, and then Brock Bowers last year. These guys are going to be focal points of the offenses they go to. You mentioned him potentially going to Indianapolis. I agree they do have bigger needs, but they also do need to get more weapons out of that offense that don't just center around Jonathan Taylor. Michael Pittman's a great possession wide receiver, but he's not going to spread the field. He's not going to stretch it.
Yeah.
Tyler Warren's the guy that can do that. He's got the speed, he has the ability, he has all the route running abilities to be that guy that could be a centerpiece of an offense. And if he turns into getting the type of volume that Laporta and Bowers were able to get, I think you're going to be really happy with the return. And if you're getting him in between, like you're saying, at like the 104 to the 109, I don't think he gets really past that, but in that bracket range right there, I think you're going to end up with a really nice piece to add to your rosters that you can plug into a flex as a really overabundant flex player, or just have him take over your tight end.
There you go. All right.
All right. My guy that you already know, so we're not going to overthink it. These are just guys you're picking in the first round. It just depends what you think about the dudes around him. Now, there's nobody really contesting with Tyler Warren for the tight end 1 spot, but there's a lot of argument over who the best wide receiver in this is going to be. Some people think it's Tet. Some people think it's Luther Burden. I'm not saying it's Emeka Ibuka, but I'm telling you, don't overthink it. If he falls in your lap, just pick this fucking guy. You're talking about the Ohio State all-time leader in catches, yards, and 7th all-time in touchdown catches. He's a tough wide receiver with great route running skills, hands, and he's just flat out tough. It's right, I had to say it twice because you got to know how tough this guy is. He'll go over the middle. He'll make contested catches. He is a great all-around wide receiver. He'll find holes in zones easily. He showed that at Ohio State, making nice open catches for his quarterbacks. He is absolutely fearless across the middle. I don't know if we're going to see that in film because I didn't preview this fucking film before. But you might get one of those in there, so keep watching that film too. He's probably going to go around the 8th overall pick in your rookie draft, somewhere in there, right? You got to think the quarterback's probably going to jump up there a little bit, a running back sneak in, Tyler Warren, you got the other wide receivers. He's roughly in that range. He is going to find a role on an NFL roster year 1 right off the bat. Now, does that mean he's going to come in and be the wide receiver 1 for somebody? No. I'm going to be honest with you, I don't honestly think he's that guy. But I do think he's a great complementary piece to a team that already has either a really good wide receiver 2 on the other side, and he complements that guy, or a top tier wide receiver 1 on the other side, and then he can excel because he will be able to beat man coverage left and right. Like I said before, he'll be able to find all the zones. He's just an all-around good wide receiver. He had a 24.9% target share at Ohio State. That is fucking huge. That means every 4 times you go back to pass the ball, guess who the hell it's going to? Emeka. All right, he played sparingly as a freshman. He only played 10 games as a freshman, but he was mostly doing that as a kick returner. His 3-year stat line, if you go from his sophomore, junior, and senior years, you add it all up. It's 39 games he played. He had 196 catches. That's 5 catches per game. 2,868 receiving yards. That's 73 yards on average per game. And 24 touchdowns. That's 0.6 touchdowns per game. To me, that translates probably not to the NFL to be that great of stats, but in the right situation, drafted by the right team that needs a wide receiver, and considering he's going to go in the first round to a team that needs him, I think he has a chance to touch these numbers. Guys, don't overthink this. Just go and grab this wide receiver, plug him in as your wide receiver 2 or another top-tier flex guy, and run to a championship with his ass.
There you go. Yeah, I do a lot of comps. You know, you got to kind of see how the player plays. I kind of comp him to like a Hines Ward. The guy just did everything on the field. He needs somebody to block, he's going to go do it. Needs somebody to catch over the middle, got it. And he's so reliable that the QB is just going to fall in love with throwing to him.
And you can't really, like, a lot of people are probably going to come in and be like, maybe he isn't that fast. Maybe that's, like, he doesn't have the straight line speed. He ran a 4.42 40, or at least that's his last clock. We'll get a better idea of what he's got at the combine. That's going to be a big piece for him into jumping his draft status. But like I said, don't overthink it. This guy's a great wide receiver. If you're trying to compare apples to apples with the other 2 wide receivers that are top tier in this draft that are going in the first round, don't overthink it too much, right? To be, in my full opinion, I'm taking. You can take Tet first because I still think he's like the prototypical wide receiver. The only concern I really have with him is that the competition he was facing may not have been as high as what Ibuka was facing. This guy was facing the top corners, the top badasses. He did have a lot of help on the other side, and you got to think about who came in with him. Jeremiah Smith this past year was a fucking phenomenal wide receiver. Marvin Harrison the year before that, and then we all know about the other Ohio State wide receivers that came out. This kid is just going to continue in the line of Brian Hartline coached Ohio State wide receivers that at the next level will be viable fantasy options.
That's fantastic. Yeah, big fan of Ibuka.
Like you.
Ibuka. All right, so now we're going on to players that you might not know. I'm starting off with Elijah Arroyo, a tight end out of Miami. Some people aren't aware of what he did, which was not a whole lot, but you go back and watch film of Miami, and you see his little plays littered throughout, most of them ending up in the end zone. Let's get the video rolling there. So, 6'4", 245, 21 years old, so still has some time to grow into being a professional tight end. He's got 35 receptions, 509 yards, and 7 touchdowns for this last year. Not a whole lot, but it's exactly what you need out of showing production, showing that he can run the seams. And he's definitely a vertical threat tight end. He's not going to be your Brock Bowers where he lines up and he's able to block more. He's more of that, like David Njoku and stuff. They're going to get him out. They're going to get him to run and try to create those mismatches. He's got good speed, good route running. He's a good blocker. The offense just schemed touches to make sure that he got the ball. He doesn't have that super breakaway speed, but he makes big splash plays, and that's what's going to get him the ticket to the NFL. He finds space to be open for the quarterback to want to throw to him. So he's contested. He's in a battle, and then he finds a way to get some space for the quarterback to get him the ball. I likely see him like a 4th or 5th round pick in the NFL, but I'm not letting him fall past the mid-3rd in rookie drafts. If I was drafting right now, if I was drafting right now, I'm definitely not letting him fall into the 3rd. But
you take him to the back end of the 2nd?
Yeah, right now he's coming off at that 2-3 turn, and I think that's where he's going to end up staying, even if he goes in that 4th, 5th round. But, that draft stock could drop his price just a little bit into rookie drafts, into that early 3rd, and I'm fine with slamming that.
Yeah, I like it. I don't know jack all about him, so thanks for the teaching lesson, because I didn't really know all that much about him, because I don't really scout out that tight ends too much. And past Warren and Loveland, I'm kind of like, man, fuck it.
Yeah.
But I will get into that more later. So there's the first guy I got to go do a little bit more in-depth look at. But I like what he looked at or how he looked on tape there. Long, lean guy. Looks like he covers ground. He's got a long stride. And at the next level, I think that the way the NFL is projecting right now, guys like that are going to find success in the NFL as long as they end up in the right situation. So with that kind of guy, if he's going to end up being a 4th or 5th, 3rd, 4th, 5th round pick in the NFL draft, you hope he lands in a really good spot where he actually is going to get some playing time, or at the very least behind maybe a veteran that he can learn a little bit, split some fucking time with, and then get him into a 2nd year. You're really rocking and rolling. That's not a bad pickup for a late 2nd, early 3rd.
Yep.
All right. So my guy that I'm going to talk about that you might not know kind of feels like a sham, because if you don't know about Devin Neal, the running back with Kansas, I don't know what the fuck you're doing out there. You're probably not paying attention too much to college football, and you're relying on cheap guys like us who have free YouTube channels you can come check out. Now, Devin Neal is 5'11", 220 pounds, which just is like you're the prototypical size to be 3-down, all-around workhorse back in the NFL. He's a natural at the position. What he lacks in athletic ability, he makes up for with an understanding of space and run scheme. Does possess the ability to eat the edge, right? But that's not really his game. He excels at setting up blocks and understanding angles to create space and find open lanes. Not a liability in the pass pro, giving him 3-down pedigree to go along with smooth hands. He is the Jayhawks all-time leader in rushing yards, touchdowns, and 100-yard games. This dude is a baller, and if you're watching the film, you know what I'm talking about already. He has excellent patience and burst, paired with fantastic vision at the line of scrimmage. This kid is great at reading blocks. You can't compare him to like a Le'Veon Bell because I don't really think he runs like that. He runs full speed, and look, right there on that play. You can see he finds the butt of an offensive lineman and just trugs to the end zone, and that's what I want in a running back, especially in fantasy. Always be getting me positive yards. Speaking of positive yards, he's had 3 1,000-yard seasons at Kansas. 13 games in one, that being his sophomore year, 13 games his junior year, and 12 games in his senior year. Yes, that's right, I said senior. We're talking about a 4-year running back. Yes, the guy stayed for 4 years, so he has pedigree. 707 yards as a freshman, though. That's pretty goddamn close to 1,000 yards. So you're talking about a guy who had over 3,000. I think he was at like 5,000 yards. I should have wrote that down, goddammit. Kid's a beast. He averaged 5.7 yards per carry over his career average. He had back-to-back seasons of 16 touchdowns on the ground. This is his senior and junior year he pulled that off. And like I said, he is a viable pass catcher. In his sophomore year, he caught 21 passes, got 25 in his junior, and 24 in his senior year. He's an all-around good running back who has a nose for the end zone, and he's going to find a spot on an NFL roster, especially nowadays where the whole like boom, thunder, lightning shit is going on. Yep. This guy right here is your thunder with a little bit of lightning added to it. I compare his projection to the NFL to be that of like a David Montgomery. If he ends up in the right spot behind a decent offensive line, this kid is going to excel. If he ends up in a shitty spot with a shitty offensive line, you're going to be pissed if you take him in the early second. I like Devin Neal as of right now before the combine and before getting all the running backs that are about to come out, which is a fantastic running back draft class. Before all those guys come out, I'm honestly projecting that he's going to end up a little bit further back in the second round. Some of these other guys are going to get a little bit of heat behind him. I think his long speed is going to kind of catch up to him because he doesn't have long speed. He will get caught from behind, but you will see if you go check him out on film. He can break a run for you. He does have some speed, but he just doesn't have that elite top tier speed. And I think he's going to fall down a little bit.
What I watched on his film, though, is he converts those goal line plays.
Yep.
He finds a way to get to the end zone. And I think that's, when you're looking at a fantasy player, that's why those thunder and lightning things work.
Mm-hmm.
You know, especially for the David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs, is David Montgomery can score. You get him in the 15 to the 20, anywhere in there, like, he can break it. He can get there.
And as a frame of reference, last year, Devin Neal, of his 16 touchdowns, 13 of those came within the red zone. So, no, this guy's not breaking a shit ton of runs. Yeah. I'm not saying he's not a game breaker, because he can be a game breaker for you. He can break off a 20-yard run. But if you're trying to draft this guy and plug him into an RB2 spot and you're thinking, all I need is one play, this ain't that guy. So pay attention to where he goes. Pay attention to what his combine's coming out to be. I'm interested to see what his 40 time comes out to be, because if he has 4 or 5 and higher, that's going to fucking sting a little bit. Yeah. But we've seen guys like Kyron come in and run a shit 40, but he is a viable NFL running back because he knows how to use his blocks and he knows he has a natural feel for position. That's Devin Neal. Go get him.
Go get him. All right, moving on to our next set of players. Our player for this one is players you need to know more about. Probably have heard their name in passing, don't know a lot about them. In fact, I ended up switching my player on this because I had to do more research. I started to hear some buzz. I'm like, who the hell is this? So I switched from doing Dylan Gabriel over to Trey Harris, wide receiver out of Ole Miss. 6'2", 210, 23 years old. He ended the season with 60 receptions, 1,030 yards, and 7 touchdowns on 8 games. He ended up having some growing and hip injury he battled with during the season. But that's all right. He had some few years before that were phenomenal. But if he would have finished this season, the pace he was going, he was on pace for 90 receptions, 1,416 yards, and 9 touchdowns. Phenomenal season, especially coming from for a college receiver. He's a good X-receiver. He's likely going to pair well with a target hog slot wide receiver. You know, somebody that's like Amon-Ra, somebody like that, where the focus is going to be them, where he can get open down the side. He can take that one-on-one corner and just exploit it, or a safety. That's where he's going to be more beneficial. He's got good long speed, strives in deep routes. He makes room for clearer receptions before going down on a tackle or for a touchdown. He's got strong hands and can make some contested catches. He does a good job of tracking the ball. His last 2 seasons before his senior year here, well, one, he was at Louisiana Tech in 2022. He had 65 receptions, 935 yards, and 10 touchdowns. Last year at Ole Miss, his junior year, he had 54 receptions, 985 yards, and 8 touchdowns. Those are solid seasons, regardless, on top of coming back this year and in 4 less games, putting up higher numbers.
Yeah.
So,
only thing I've been worried about with Trey Harris is that he gives me Mike Williams vibes.
yeah.
It's the only knock I've had on him, is that he was in it for a while. Some of the competition was maybe younger than him. He's becoming, past that breakout age, of course, that late breakout.
Yep.
That's the only thing that concerns me with him. He has all of the tools to be a good NFL wide receiver. He just needs to be able to put it all together at the next level.
Yeah, I have it. So he's not going to be like a 4.3 or under burner. He's not that long field stretching type X receiver, but he's going to be a solid X for a team. I can see him going day 2 in the NFL draft, and he likely ends up in that 1-2 turn on our rookie picks.
I like it. I like it. All right. So my guy, which one are we doing now? The one you don't know about?
Correct.
All right. So my guy that you don't know about is another sneaky one. You should probably know about him because, rest in peace. His brother was part of the New Orleans terrorist attack, passed away. Tiger Besh of Princeton. This is his brother, Jack Besh, wide receiver, TCU. This dude balled out wearing his brother's number in the Senior Bowl. It was amazing to watch. If you didn't get to see it, go look up some film because he dominated that game.
There's
6
the reason
catches.
he got MVP.
Word. 6 catches for 68 yards in the game-winning touchdown. This guy balled out, right? What Besh lacks is straight line speed, but he makes up for it with athleticism. He's not a super fast guy. He's a super quick guy. He's a former tight end turned wide receiver. He's still perfecting his craft, so he still is going to be able to go to the next level, get better, get better, get better. It says a lot for a guy that has a knack in finding open spaces in his own coverages, especially in today's NFL, especially if you're an oversized slot wide receiver, which is what Jack Besh is going to play out to be. He's a day one contributor for a team that drafts him. He's an ideal fit, like I said, as a big slot wide receiver. He is a rack wizard with the power to run over cornerbacks at the point of contact. He's extremely physical after the catch. This kid does not want to go down. He's got that dog in him. So he's going to get extra yards. All you got to worry about is this kid can run slants, stops, out routes. Just get the ball in this kid's hands and turn a 5-yard catch into a 15-yard catch like that. He is a late bloomer, and he's gaining momentum right now, I think because of the Senior Bowl, of course. The story going in behind him. But he had 43 catches and 489 yards and 3 touchdowns as a freshman for LSU as a tight end. He's playing tight end, a position that probably wasn't fit for at 6'1", 214 pounds. That's a light-ass tight end, right?
That's a very light tight end.
He had some learning years at TCU as a sophomore and a junior and finally reached his breakout year this past year with 62 catches for 1,034 yards. That's 16.6 yards per catch on average. And he had 9 touchdowns. Jack Besh is the kind of guy that if you can get him late 3rd, 4th round, which is where I think he's probably going to go, in your rookie drafts, I don't think you're going to be too upset about it. One, I don't feel like you're wasting a pick on him. If you're taking him in there and you're just going to take the shot on him, especially if you land somewhere in a pass-happy offense. Like, God forbid, Green Bay actually drafts a guy like this with the other 50 fucking dudes they got on there. But I think this is one of the guys that actually makes a standout. Becomes a safety blanket for a quarterback that needs a safety blanket. He's already pro-ready. This is a guy that I would keep my eye on. Watch to see what he does at the combine. Watch to see how much the hype builds on him. And see where he ends up and how he ends up there. One of the big things I'm going to be looking for is, does anybody trade up to go get Jack? Because if somebody trades up and they want him, they're going to want him for a reason. Not just because he's a wide receiver that can play in the NFL, because he's going to fill a spot they have in the roster he needs to fill, which means he's going to get more playing time.
Type guy.
No, he's not going to return. He's going to go in, he's going to play wide receiver. This is a guy I'm keeping my eye on. So just watch what happens with this dude. I'm not saying he's a lock, take him in the 3rd, 4th rounds, because it's still too goddamn early, and we're seeing a lot of good running backs come out. I mentioned that before. And a lot of good wide receivers are going to pile in behind that. This dude may even fall into your free agent market. And go grab his ass if he's a free agent at the end of your drafts.
All right, great lead into our last set of players here. We are looking at our late round player pickups, going probably late in the draft, probably late to free agent pickups in your rookie draft. My first player that I've got here is Nick Nash, the wide receiver out of San Jose State. This is the player that tied Tyler Warren with receptions on the year. He had 104. He finished with 1,382 yards, 16 touchdowns. He led the NCAA and FBS in touchdowns. This year, he averaged 13.3 yards per reception. This dude is a Keenan Allen type receiver. He's dice up defense. He finds pockets. He sets his quarterback up to be able to throw him open, but he's not a speedster. Remember, Keenan Allen ran a 4.740. That's a 3rd percentile speed score. We're looking for like 80s and 90s, and Keenan came into the league at a 3rd percent. Like, that's ridiculous. So this kid is not far off of that. Smaller school, Keenan didn't have that, but this is what he's looking at. He's looking at contested crossing, ins, outs. Those routes are all what he did, and he just found pockets each and every time he ran a route. He's got great gliding speed that goes through his whole route. He makes it look easy, even though, like it's not even trying to run hard and he sets up his defender to be in the wrong position, time and time again.
Yeah, he's good at he's good at manipulating the corner's hips, which in the NFL will be huge.
If he comes out of because I doubt he goes to the combine. If he comes out of the pro days with like a 4.5, you can just consider him my 3rd round pick to be him.
There you go.
I would reach up and take him above other players because he's going to have that lock.
Some guys are just ballers, and that's all there is to it, right? Some dudes, it doesn't matter what their 40 time was. Sometimes the stats don't matter. Sometimes a baller is a baller, and I think that guy is a fucking baller. Love watching his film.
He does come with some downside. We've talked about this already. Some speed. Speed equals draft capital a lot of times in the NFL. And it's easier to get playing time when you're really fast. You can start out by doing returns. 45 yards was his longest reception on the year. So, he's not breaking down the speed barrier, getting downfield for long plays, but he's constantly converting first downs with a 13-yard average.
Kind of like that.
He's coming from a small school. San Jose State is not exactly pumping out NFL caliber players year after year. He's a 6th-year senior, so he's going to be almost 25 by the time this comes out. So you worry about that. I mean, he's got 3-5 years really of great play ahead of him. He had an injury and a position switch. So he was formerly, when he came into college, so formerly a dual threat quarterback. His first year, he came in at the championship game and ended up helping them win the MWAC championship as a backup. So I worry that he's old, slow, and he had a position change that could hold down his draft capital, but that's going to be great when you're looking for a late round flyer because he's going to be picked late, but he has great potential.
Yeah, and like I said before, ballers know how to ball, and that kid knows how to ball. You come in as a backup quarterback with the MWAC, you stud. Get it.
Get it.
All right, my late round guy. And I tell you what, dudes, if I can give any piece of advice right now, start your homework on running backs right fucking now because it is going to be cutthroat. It is going to be fucking cutthroat in your drafts when it comes to getting running backs, all right? My late round guy is a running back. It is DJ Giddens out of Kansas State. Now, for all you haters out there who are about to curse me for reading, I don't give a shit. I need to read this. Giddens is 6'1", 212 pounds, kind of tall for a running back. Slow starter, but once given the opportunity, he excelled. He did not become the starter in his first few years there. He sat behind Deuce Vaughn, mixed in a little bit with him. We all know where Deuce Vaughn ended up. He got drafted in the fucking NFL, and he's not near the same size as this guy. Nope. He had 223 carries for 1,226 yards and and 10 touchdowns as a sophomore over 13 games. 205 carries, 1,343 yards, and 7 touchdowns as a junior over 12 games. He has impressive contact balance. It's his best attribute, in my opinion. He's excellent short area burst, but lacks long speed. He will get caught from behind. And he was underutilized as a receiver, but did have 50 catches for 581 yards and 4 touchdowns in his sophomore and junior years. That's not too bad for a running back, and he has room to excel at that. He has plenty of size to withstand a workload, but his running style won't let that last. So don't get all caught up that you're going to catch a guy that's going to get you 10 years of fucking production. This dude is 6'1", runs upright as fuck, and is going to get pounded in the NFL when he gets to linebackers. He averages a touchdown every 23.7 touches. It means he has a little bit of a nose for the end zone, but I don't think he's going to be a goal line back because of his size. But you get this guy in between the 40s and between the 20s, and you're utilizing him in a dual head backfield, he's going to put up some production. He is scheme versatile. He has the potential to be a 3-down back, but he must get better at pass pro and has the tools to do so. He showed progression each and every year as a pass protector back at TCU, and I think just getting NFL coaching will help with that, but it could be a liability. That's why he's a fucking late-round guy.
Yeah.
Limited route tree. He ran screens and checks downs. He wasn't out there doing no Christian McCaffrey shit. He wasn't running option routes, nothing like that. So he's got a limited there, but he has the ability to do all that. So all this potential is sitting around there. When I look at DJ Giddens and I'm thinking, how am I going to put this into an NFL potential comparison? I think it's a morph of Chuba Hubbard and James Conner, right? And I'm not saying they're best years, What I'm saying is he's got Chuba Hubbard's height, speed, sort of, right? He's going to get caught from behind on that. He's got James Conner's feel for the run game. He can see the run scheme. He knows where holes are going. He's a smart back. And you get a lot of guys that come out of college that just think they're just going to run roughshod through these NFL lines, and that's not what's going to happen. You have to be able to read this game, and he did a really good job of that at TCU, especially once given the chance. This kid is on the rise. He is a little bit older. He's going to be 22, 23 by the time he gets into an NFL training camps. But, like I said, we're not expecting this dude to ball out for the next 10 years. I think you got a good 5 years out of this guy if he lands in the right spot. DJ Giddens, sign him up. I've been looking at this kid ever since I watched him just run roughshod over Colorado when they played.
Yeah, it's funny when we start these rookie things like this because we're like, oh man, we gotta. Okay, I'll get a couple guys here. Okay, who do I need to do? Like, and then you start getting into it, and your list just keeps growing. You're like, well, fuck, I could cover this guy. And what about this guy? What about this guy? I'm like, okay, I got rookie fever.
This year is going to be a tough one. It's going to be a tough year. It's been a downplayed year, mostly I think for fantasy because of the lack of quarterbacks coming out. But don't let that deter you. Do your homework on some of these wide receivers that are coming up. Do your homework on running backs. There is a swath of running backs coming out. And for advice, because I was looking at some of my teams last night, looking at where I've got draft picks at. If you are a rebuilding team, this is the perfect year to start stockpiling picks for next year. Yeah. If you don't want to bring on any of these running backs, other than I would say if I had the 101, I'm taking Ashton Genty. If I'm a rebuilder, I don't give a shit. Because I think all that happens with him is his price goes up. But if you're a rebuilder and you're not want to bring on running backs because it's just not that time yet, this is the perfect year to start trading some of those picks that you've got to let guys come up and get the running backs they want. The rookie fever sets in and they want to make the draft pick trade up there. Make those trades and lock up next year's picks. Take care of yourself. You will be able to. There's going to be a swath of running backs out there that you can go get later on at the end of next year, and you'll be fine, right? Trade them away, think ahead, get that way. If you're a competing team, trade those picks and go pick up some of these fucking running backs because there is a swath of really good running backs coming out this year that you could put on your roster and lock yourself in at the running back position for the next 4 to 5 years, especially if you're heavy on wide receivers and you're good at quarterbacks. I just saw you pop up the YouTube thing. Is that going to come back?
Nope.
Like and subscribe. Okay. Well, you saw the YouTube thing. And if you're here, you've probably already seen the YouTube thing and clicked on it and found us. So you know our fucking shit. Hit the like button. Hit the bell. Get all the notifications. We'll be putting these things out weekly. We got the Combine coming up next. That's going to be a really good show. It's going to be a pain in the ass to fucking decipher. It always is every year.
Whittling that thing down to a show.
Yeah. But we're just going to highlight some guys that we saw, some winners, some losers, and just kind of keep on with the flow, baby. We got till April before the draft hits. We got free agency still coming up. And hopefully next time I'm not tripping over my own fucking tongue.
Yeah, that happens. All right. Latest.